So, you're about to watch a what's in my camera bag video. The point of this is not to see what's in my bag as opposed to what's in your bag. Kind of like when your neighbors have an open house and you want to see what kind of crap they've accumulated. Not because, you know, you want to buy their house, but because it's always cool to look at other people's stuff. That's not what we're about here. What I'm trying to show you is the amount of photo gear that I have accumulated while on a budget. I'm trying to go to a more professional level, and this is the gear loadout that I've accumulated through buying used, buying on clearance, and trying to get the very best that I can. Unlike everybody else on the internet, I stutter like a motherfucker. So, without any further ado, here comes the video. So we're going to start out with the tripod. This is a Manfrotto 7322YB. It's right before Manfrotto started to make a consumer line of tripods. This was the first one that they made that was like that. It has a screw head, and I found on Amazon a mount that allows for a plate mount, which makes everything much easier to deal with. If you've ever tried to use a screw mount tripod, it's not a fun experience, especially in the middle of winter. So that was bought at Best Buy when it was on clearance. It was a display model. I got it for next to nothing. And to have a name brand tripod like a Manfrotto that is sturdy as all get out for next to nothing is a very, very good deal. Next, we will move on to the bag. The first lens we will pull out is a Canon 35mm f2. I ended up getting that lens and this lens, a Sigma 24-70 f 2.8. This is the EX. It is the Sigma version of a pro lens. Got them both on consignment when a fellow photographer was looking to move up to L series glass for his Canon system. The next thing in my bag is going to be a Nikon SB600 Speedlight. Now I know what you're thinking. You shoot Canon. Why the hell do you have a Nikon Speedlight? The reason I have a Nikon Speedlight is simple. It was on clearance at Best Buy for a really good price. I bought it because I shoot manual flash. For the most part, any flash will fit on any camera and will be fired by any camera. Especially, well, not any camera. Nikon and Canon flashes are interchangeable between the two systems. The difference is that the through-the-lens metering technology will not work when you cross platforms. That is not a big deal to me. I like to go into an event that I'm shooting. I like to take my metering. I like to see what works with my flash, and then I don't use through-the-lens metering, because at that point, if you're going to use through-the-lens metering, any moment that you're hoping to catch is going to be lost in a series of pop, 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 pops. People, when they see that, they tend to look over, and then you don't get candid moments. You start to get posed photographs, and that's just no fun for anyone. If you look on the front of there, there's it looks a little orange, and the reason it looks orange is because there's a half color temperature orange gel on there. I like to use that because I am from the Midwest, and in the Midwest it gets very cold, winters are long, and as a result of which people's skin tones get very pale in the winter. That warms everything up, gives everybody a nice warm glow, makes everybody look nice, everybody's happy. In this bag as well, we also have the Strobus collection from Roscoe. It is a collection of gels. I like to use them when I'm using my flash to fill for an ambient light temperature that is not daylight, whether that be high pressure sodiums, fluorescence, and in today's day and age, in the day where the incandescent light bulb is being replaced by the compact fluorescent, it's very important to have a set of gels that's more than just the color temperature orange gradient, because you never know if you're going to be walking into a house that's green, has a low carbon footprint, and has a blue hue or a green hue, or does it have more of the traditional orange incandescent hue to it. Next up we have, actually, the next easy thing to get to is a Cowboy Studio wireless radio trigger set. I would love to have Pocket Wizards. I would love to have a set of Pocket Wizards. The problem though is I can't justify spending $300 a piece on a set of wireless transmitters when the longest distance I'm ever shooting is from one end of a small room to another. I work in small studio spaces. I'm not doing large, long-distance outdoor things. I'm not doing very high-cost shoots where you only get one chance to do things. I'm not shooting from one plane to another, and as a result of which, my cheap little $10 Cowboy Studio wireless triggers will work just fine. Now, to come in, we have the camera, which is a Canon 1D Mark II. It is the pro level camera. However, it is the model from 2006. It's an 8 megapixel camera. Its drive rate is 8.5 frames per second. You can shoot fairly clean all the way up to 1600 ISO. If you want to shoot 3200, you can. You're just going to need a fairly decent noise reduction software on the back end to clean it up. But I have decent pictures at 3200 ISO out of this camera. I like it for those two reasons. It's fast, it has 45 points of autofocus, and it's clean at high ISO. And when you're doing weddings, low light events, anything that has that, not necessarily photojournalistic quality, not necessarily photojournalism, but has a photojournalistic quality to it where you're capturing candid moments when you're not supposed to, the photographer is not supposed to be the center of attention. I like that set of features for that. Attached to this, we have a 70-200 lens. It's the L series, f4. Again, this has become almost the walking around lens for this body. It's an amazing lens. Love it. This, like everything else, was bought used. Well, not everything else. It was either others were bought on clearance. This was bought used. The body was bought used. I also have an assortment of, when we come up to the top of this, we have an assortment of circular polarizing filters. We have the 82mm for the Sigma lens, and then because I have a 50mm 1.8 that I'm about to pull out, and I also have the 35mm, we have a series of 52mm diameter circular polarizers, because there's a neat trick that you can do where if you put one in front of the other and then turn them just right, you get essentially a neutral density filter out of them, which is great in the field when you're not carrying around a bag full of filters. Here is the Canon 50mm 1.8 lens, one of the best you can buy. I actually bought this new because it only cost me $100. It is attached to a series of ProMaster Spectrum 7 extension tubes. I use these because I have not justified, just like I can't justify buying a set of Pocket Wizards, I can't justify buying a Canon 100mm macro lens because I don't really do that much macro photography. I don't make money on it. It's just something I like to do in my free time. And for something you do in your free time, this lens combination works. And it cost, I want to say, less than a third of the price of the macro lens itself. Now we also have in here a nickel metal hydride battery set and charger for a flash. I like nickel metal hydride batteries as opposed to lithium ion, mainly because of the refresh rate on the nickel metal hydride is such that you can pop your flash faster with nickel metal hydride than you can with lithium ion. Lithium ion may make it last longer, but when you're trying to get off 8 frames in 1 second and you want a flash on every single one of them, the refresh rate on the nickel metal hydride is what's going to get you there, not the long battery life of the lithium ion. We also have in here, I keep a tie. I keep a tie because you do weddings, you just keep a tie on you. It's good for events. You can dress up, you get there, and it's something where you should have a tie on. It's great. You don't need a tie on. You still have on a button-down shirt. It works. Next up, we have a Canon FD mount. FD mount is, for those of you who aren't aware, EF mount is the electronic focus mount. The FD mount is from the days of the old Canon film cameras, before the days of EOS. On the back of this 50mm 1.4 lens is an adapter for a micro four thirds camera system, which brings us finally to the Olympus PL1 micro four thirds camera. The great thing about this camera, there's a couple of great things about it. One, it's the only camera that I have that shoots video and shoots in HD. But the reason why I love it is because it has a crop factor of 2, which means that I take this 50mm 1.4 lens on, and I take this 1.4mm lens, I slap it on this body, and it instantly becomes a 100mm 1.4 lens, which, if you know your portraiture, you know is probably one of the most amazing combinations for portraiture you can have. 1.4 gives you beautiful bokeh, it gives you that blur, though 100mm gives you a nice compression factor, it brings it all in, and the fact that you can have this great 100mm 1.4 lens for the $80 it cost me for a $30 adapter and a $50 lens is really a wonderful deal. So what I'm setting out to put forth in this video is that all this video was either bought used or on clearance, with few exceptions. The exceptions being the PL1, only because the used PL1 body that was at my local camera shop was bought the day actually before I went in to buy it, so I had to buy a new one. And the Canon 1.8 lens, which was actually the first lens I ever bought, I would buy a new one any day, predominantly because used ones are near impossible to find. Thank you for watching my video. Next video is going to be on my light bag, which is, well, just about as interesting as this one. So until next time, have a wonderful week, month, however long it takes.